Good morning. My name is Georgie. I'm one of the domestic violence advocates here at the Avalon Center. I wanted to go over and kind of review boundaries. I know Sam did a video on it yesterday. I feel like we had a lot of really good questions. And so this is kind of like a part 2 to her video. So a quick refresher. What is a boundary? So I like to think about boundaries in the sense of like, this is my property line, this is your property line, just very black and white. But boundaries are really limits that we set with people so that we can maintain a healthy relationship and a sense of personal space. And so you can't set boundaries on other people. In the sense of you cannot control what they decide that they're comfortable with. You can decide what you're comfortable with, but not what they are. And so here in the South, we're a very friendly group of people sometimes. And my boundary is I don't like to be touched. And so I'm going to use this with our 10-step guide to setting healthy boundaries. And so I don't like to be touched, whether that is for safety reasons because of disease, or like if it gave me flashbacks. Let's say I don't like to be touched. So how would I figure this out? So let's say that I'm surrounded by touchy-feely people, and every time that they are talking to me or like the conversation's coming to a close, I start getting those gut feelings of like, oh, it's going to happen. Maybe that means that I need to set a boundary. So the first step is clearly identifying your boundary. So I don't like to be touched. Got it. So understand why I need the boundary is our next step. And so I need it so that I don't stress in that conversation, and so that I'm not waiting for that to end, and so that I feel safe. And so being straightforward about it is our third step. And so I just don't walk around with a sign that says, don't touch me, I don't like to be touched. We don't do that. And so when somebody then goes to hug me or touch me, I have to say, I don't like to be touched. That's my responsibility to uphold that boundary and communicate it. Now, I don't give long explanations. If I did, imagine how long that I would spend standing there explaining to people how I don't like to be touched. So I just say, I don't like hugs, I don't like to be touched. And I'm not mean about it. I'm very calm. It's not a personal thing. I do not make it personal. I'm not like, you cannot touch me. I don't like to be touched. And it's easier to start out with boundaries that are a little bit more strict and then loosen them up as time goes on. And so maybe I don't like to be touched by strangers. Maybe I'm okay with family hugging me. And so for somebody to go from that, you are an acquaintance stranger to that family, that might take some time. And so as that time and as that relationship builds, then maybe that boundary starts to loosen up a little bit. And so the hard part about boundaries is that they're on you. You cannot control that other person. So when somebody tries to then hug me, I have to address it. I have to take a step back and I have to say, no, I don't like to be touched. I have to address that violation and communicate it. And so let's say I'm with somebody, a relationship might start to form, and I'm like, no, I don't like to be touched, and they keep violating it. That's when I have to say, no, I don't like to be touched. You're not getting that. I'm gonna leave if this keeps happening. You are not respecting that boundary and what I'm setting. And so if you've been through any type of domestic violence or sexual assault, things like that, what happens is that abusers don't like boundaries. Um, they like to be able to set those limits. And so they slowly grind them away. And so building them back up can be really hard. Like trusting those gut feelings can be really difficult if you've spent your whole life trying to stay safe, and not being able to trust those gut feelings and address what you need. And so getting a support system involved, if there's somebody that you know that kind of knows where you're coming from, even if that's just an advocate here at the Avalon Center that's like, yes, no, I can see why you feel like you need to set that boundary with them. They can kind of be a good reflection for, is this something for a boundary? Is this a violation? Here's my gut feeling. They can kind of be a mirror and reflect that. And so, people aren't going to be happy about boundaries. That's one thing to mention, as well as absolutely think about safety before going into this. If you're trying to set boundaries with your abuser, they might get very upset. And so it might absolutely, they are one way that you can take power back and control over your life and your body. But that might come with some safety risks. Absolutely think about that, and come up with a plan for how are we going to ease into these if you're trying to set boundaries with your abuser. And any of the advocates here would be more than willing to help you safety plan around that. But even without that, people aren't going to be happy about boundaries. They don't like to be told no. That, if you think about it, when you are told yes, how does it make you feel? When you're told no, how does it make you feel? It's almost like that sense of rejection. But really, that's on them to carry. You get to be a kind person and say no. And so, what happens when you let them violate boundaries? And that's kind of some of what Sam talks. They get to, so maybe you let them get away with it for a while, violating your boundaries. Maybe I don't let them hug me. Maybe I'll let them shake my hand. They might push for more and more and more past that comfort zone and kind of almost groom you. And so you have to be the one to react and say, if this is happening, what am I going to do? How am I going to react? But yeah, I wanted to go over that. Boundaries are one of the essential building blocks to starting to have healthy relationships. And so I do think that they're very important, and they can be a good step in taking back your power and taking care of yourself. And so, are there any upcoming events or things in y'all's life that are going to test your boundaries? We'd love to hear and give y'all any feedback, as well as if y'all have any requests for videos specifically on different topics, or like if you have a question and you would like us more to elaborate on a topic, please let us know. You can send us a message, you can comment on this video, however you feel comfortable. But we are here to support you in this journey. And I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later.